welcome back to Denise Diaries. Today is February 5th, 2025, and I want to talk about an analogy that I had this morning at about maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. So, for about I'm gonna say 16 years, my marriage has been strained. And so maybe around 2022 is when I just was like, kind of threw my hands up. It was like, you know what, I quit. I'm not trying no more. I'm not doing, like, I'm gonna put my focus on me, because that's what I could control. I could control what I do, my actions, my outcomes, to a certain degree. But I'm tired of trying to control the environment, the narrative. Think about us in long-term future. I'm just tired. So, fast forward 2024, towards the end of 2024, I told my husband I want a divorce, and he was like, well, I don't want a divorce, I don't want to lose my family, the whole, So, finally, I'm just skipping over different things. Finally, because in my heart and mind, I feel like there's nothing that can be done at this point. Like, we're too far gone. I'm too far gone. So he sat down and wrote me a letter. And the letter did soften my heart, because I felt like the letter was heartfelt. And I'm like, okay. I'll put the divorce paper down. I'll put the paper down. The letter was enough to cause me to put the paper down. But the letter didn't fix all of the problems that caused me to say I want a divorce from the get-go. So I was in the bed and I heard my husband talking in his sleep, and I understand that he basically feel like his needs aren't getting met. Like, no, we're no longer, the tension is gone. I'm no longer saying I don't want to be his wife. I put my ring back on, but I'm not like doing the wifey stuff. Like, I'm not being a total wifey. So I started to think about that, and I'm to the point where it doesn't make me angry anymore. That thought process used to make me angry, because I feel like the relationship that I have with you is the one you created. And so I am catching every light. But it didn't really make me mad. I just was trying to think of a way to communicate how I feel, so that it doesn't come across in a way that makes him feel like he needs to defend himself. So, because that's part of the problem. So I feel like God gave me an analogy, and the analogy was that my husband came to me one day and told me that God told him to build a house with me, that I was the person that he is supposed to build a house with. The house represent a relationship, a future. I said, okay. So as we're building the house, I noticed that not every single detail, but certain times I noticed that certain things wasn't being put in the house while it was being built that I felt was important. the foundation wasn't completely solid, although it looked like it was solid. It looked like it was solid, but it turns out it really wasn't solid. So I didn't really 100% know because I wasn't knowledgeable at that time. But as we're building this house, I noticed that there's no insulation. Like there's walls, but there's no insulation, right? Think about what insulation does for a house. So think about that in terms of a relationship. So I'm suggesting that maybe we should put insulation in the house, because I don't want to make this super long, but think about what insulation does for a house and then translate that to a relationship. I don't know enough about insulation to really like make it short. I want to kind of move on. And then building that house with no windows. No windows. Only one door. I think we should have windows, and I think we should have extra doors, because doors to me represent like not ways out of the relationship, but doors to me, it represents like income or assets or different ways of us to be able to maneuver out of, you know what I'm saying, like in life. Like if we wanted to go on a trip, or if we wanted to retire at a certain age with a certain amount of money, if we want to send our kid to college, if we want to, that's what I mean about doors. Windows, you typically, like, if you're not opening a window, you can at least see through the window. There's transparency in the window. You can also open the window for air to come in, right? Also, there's no heating and cooling system in the house. That wasn't put in there. Although certain things was discussed, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna do that, and then it was an effort to put it in, but it never really manifested. It never really like completely was in there. So you think about that cooling and heat system, the thermostat in a house, if it's too hot, you can adjust the temperature to your comfort. If it's too cold, you can adjust the thermostat to your comfort. But if there's no thermostat, there's no system in there, then you just have to adapt to the temperature. In a relationship, translate that over to a relationship. Having the ability to be able to talk to your partner and say, hey, what you said hurt my feelings, or hey, what you did, I really didn't appreciate that, and allowing that the relationship to adjust accordingly, because I'm giving you, like, for example, some things might be a trigger for the other person, like yelling, for example. If you say something in a loud tone and you say it in a certain way, and you use a certain body or you use a certain body language, then for me it's a trigger, because I grew up in a household where there was domestic violence. So if I say to you, hey, when you talk to me that way, it makes me feel uncomfortable. That's your opportunity to adjust the thermostat, right? So that over time we don't have these buildups and these blowouts, because along the way of building this house, we're really laying it out like we want it to be long term. So now we done spent 15 years, let's say 15, 16, 20 years building this house. And now we're at the end and it's a hot mess. Because one person didn't want to listen. They just did it the way they wanted to do it. Rather they were being lazy, prideful, ignorant, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, when the house was finished, or when you're 15 years in, you see that the house is not livable. It's a death trap. So then your partner is like, I've stayed in this death trap as long as I possibly can, but at this point I feel like I need to fend for myself. So I'm out. And then somehow the person convinces them to stay. So when they convince them to stay, they don't really understand the fact that they agreed. No, let me back up. As a person's leaving, they're like, okay, I know we've been building this house for 15, 16 years. But they feel like the house needs to be condemned, torn down, meaning a divorce. They've already factored in all the time that's been put into that. They done made peace with that. They done went through all the emotions. And it's like, even though I'm hurt, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm all of the above, at the end of the day, this is not a livable house. This is not a healthy relationship. I am literally dying in this relationship because there's no walls. There's walls. There are plenty of walls. There's no windows. There's one door. Like there's no insulation. There's nothing that can sustain healthy living. Right? So you are convinced not to demolish the house, right? You're somehow convinced not to demolish the house. So you don't demolish the house, but it's still not livable. So you got two choices. Either you gonna have to tear it down and rebuild it, or you're gonna have to go in and go step by step. You're gonna have to tear out walls to put windows. You're gonna have to tear out, matter of fact, what word am I trying to use? The unrealistic task of putting insulation in a wall that's already up. So you're being emotional because you want your house. I get it. You took a long time to build the house. You really want the house. The house looks cute. It's like a pig with lipstick on it. Yep. You did. So, but at the end of the day, you got two choices. Or you gonna die. You either gonna tear that house down and just start over, meaning you gonna get a divorce and just find somebody else and love him the right way, or you have agreed to even work harder. So you're going to start from scratch, or you're going to work harder and you're going to start tearing out walls, adding insulation, putting the wall back up, cutting out walls, putting in windows, putting in a thermostat, You still tear out walls. You got to put in the pipes, all that, the ducts, and all of that. So that's what you got to do. So now that you realize, now that you over the fact that, okay, I done canceled the appointment for the demolition. Okay, cool. So what we about to do with this house? I'm not finna be responsible to tear out this to tear all this stuff up, and I'm not leading the charge. I was the helper saying, hey, I think we need insulation. Hey, I think we need windows. Hey, I think we need doors. Hey, the foundation needs to be checked. It wasn't fixed. So now you got a choice to either, you older and you don't have as much time and energy to do all of that. So you got choices to make. So that's where you at. So think of that in terms of relationship. And I gotta go.